Happy Friday everyone, we are building ahead to tomorrow's game. Notice I didn't say big game there because I say that before every match. I suppose it is a big game though. Celtic v Livingston, Celtic Park. On this video today we will have a bit of an update on Livingston's form. We'll have Ange's presser, Celtic team news, a worrying injury update, my predicted 11, all of that stuff. But that's only at the end of the video, because before that we're going to fire through some pretty interesting bits of Celtic news to emerge in the last 24 hours. But there's only really one place to start, and it's with the reports that Police Scotland Assistant Chief Constable Bernard Higgins could be in line for a senior security role at Celtic. Now, Higgins played a major part in the implementation of the infamous Offensive Behaviour at Football and Threatening Communications Scotland Act, wow, that's a mouthful, of 2012. That's the act that was brought in after the so-called shame game of 2011, when only really one half of Glasgow seemed to shame themselves. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. The act, which unfairly targeted football fans, was repealed in 2018 after tireless campaigning and work, most notably from former Labour MSP James Kelly and also the group Fans Against Criminalisation. Now, Higgins was firmly against the repealing of the act and said that doing so could lead to a regression to offensive behaviour. And now that wonderful club that we all love, Celtic, are thinking of hiring the guy. But they've got a fight on their hands if a statement that went out today is anything to go by. It was released on the North Curve's Twitter page, but it was a joint statement. It was signed by the Celtic Trust, the Green Brigade, the Boys, Celtic Shared and the North Curve. It was pretty lengthy. I'm not going to read it all out, but I have summarised what it said into several key points. Now, the statement says that Higgins took great pleasure in guiding his officers to harass, threaten, brutalise and criminalise Celtic fans. He also defended the use of supporter informants, dawn raids and other extreme policing tactics, and regularly directed his police force to report Celtic to UEFA. The parties involved in this statement say they have raised these concerns with the club, but that they are unwilling to engage on the matter. As a result, they say they will remain silent for the first half an hour of tomorrow's match against Livingston as a symbol of what Higgins tried to do to the Celtic support. They ask anyone who feels the same way to join in this protest. They say it's regrettable that the Celtic board have once again created a sideshow when the team is performing so well. And finally, most importantly, they call on the board not to appoint Higgins to this role. I think the North Curve and all the other fan groups tagged in this statement should be supported fully with this. That's my way of looking at it. I know that not everyone will agree with that viewpoint, and I totally get that. Some of you may look at the situation and think that it's a distraction to Ange and the team. You may think that the fans group should just get on with it. I personally feel that rather than being frustrated with the fans group for going on about this issue, our frustration should lie with Celtic for even contemplating employing a guy who targeted Celtic fans not so long ago. The statement has my full support. Staying with internal politics at Celtic, but some more positive news. Celtic sent out an email yesterday to fan media, including 67 Hail Hail, with details for new plans that will aim to improve the access for fan media outlets. Now, until now, as 67 Hail Hail and as part of the Celtic Fan Media Network, we have only had access to fan media only press conferences. So the vast majority of these have been when new signings have come in. So think back to, the pressers we had with Starfelt and Joe Hart and Leila Bada and Kyogo, etc. We also had a couple with Callum McGregor, the captain, lately after he signed his new deal. We had one with Scott Brown at the end of last season. I think that was the first one we had. And we also obviously had that in-person Celtic Park event with Ange Postecoglou and the never forgotten Dom Mackay. Still miss you, Dom. Now, in Celtic's email yesterday, they confirmed that the current fan media only press conferences would continue on an ad hoc basis, but that there would be further plans to include fan media in traditional press conferences. Now, these would be centred around match days. So for home matches, you would have 2 places for fan media for the pre-match press conference and 2 places for fan media for the post-match press conference. Now, these would be given on a rotational basis. So, for example, 67 Hail Hail wouldn't be there every single week. It would be different fan media there every single week, with that rotating both before and after the game. For away matches, there would also be an opportunity for 2 fan media outlets to speak to the manager before matches. However, after matches, that isn't possible because that's down to the home club that is hosting the match. Added to this, the club hope to have the manager speak to fan media and supporters groups 2 times per season, which is obviously great news as well, an opportunity we haven't had so far apart from that very first press conference at Celtic Park. This is obviously a very encouraging update from Celtic. It shows, for me personally, that they see fan media as being just as important as the traditional media, and I think it's a real positive move from the club. As always, we'll wait and see how this plays out. We've not really had an indication of when these plans would come into force. We've just been asked to give our thoughts on them and register our interest in taking part in them as well. If you've got any questions on what I've just said, anything you want to know about how fan media could work, just let us know in the comments below, and either me or John, who sometimes mans the comments, will do our best to answer those. So from one thing that is going to happen in the not too distant future to something that is probably going to happen in the not too distant future, the introduction of VAR into Scottish football. Quick refresher course on, I was about to say a quick refresher course on VAR overall, but you know, I do have plans this weekend. I can't sit here all day talking to you. So why don't we do a quick refresher course on where VAR is in regards to Scotland at the moment. There was a meeting held, about a month ago, that was basically to get initial feelings from Scottish Premiership clubs, the SFA and the SPFL as a whole towards VAR. Presentation given by the former English referee Howard Webb, and the talks were said to have gone positively. I'm doing a lot of this today. They should just call me Neil Lennon. So the update was that there was going to be a vote in the not too distant future. The latest update from the Daily Mail today suggested that that vote will take place early next year, certainly before the end of February. It says there will be meetings next month that will assure League One and League Two clubs that the costs will be fully met by Premiership clubs. That's kind of fair, given that it's only going to be the top flight that's going to have VAR in the first place. Now, interesting bit, and I was tweeting about this earlier, if it goes through, the report says that VAR will be installed in Scottish football after next year's World Cup in Qatar. Now, in case you've been living under a rock for the last 3 years, that's happening in December, that World Cup. November, December, I think. So that would seem to suggest that Scottish football would bring in VAR midway through the 2022-2023 season. Surely you can't have VAR coming in halfway through a season. It either has to be a season with VAR fully or without VAR fully. So are we then looking at season 23-24 before VAR comes into Scottish football? That just seems a bit of a waste to me. If we're having the vote by the end of February, what is stopping us from getting VAR in for the start of next season? I'm genuinely asking, and if anyone can come up with a comment or reply to suggest why VAR can't be done that quickly, I'll hold my hands up and say fair enough. But come on, you can do VAR overnight surely. Now remember Paddy Roberts and Kieran Tierney? This season already we've had Lille Abada and Kyogo, but it seems like there's a brand new Celtic bromance blossoming, and it's maybe a little bit unexpected. Now if you're on Instagram, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Late last night, about dinner time actually, we got a glimpse into the lives of Joe Hart and Josip Juranovic, the two summer signings at Celtic who seem to be getting on very well. They were out for dinner last night in a wonderful steakhouse. Now, it was actually Tiffany's Steakhouse in the West End of Glasgow. How do I know that? I may hear you ask. Well, I actually just zoomed in on the menu sitting on the table. But the big question, how much for a steak? Well, if you're looking for a sirloin, you'll be paying £32. But if you're going for the upper class, the old T-bone, have no idea why I just did that, £42 is what you're looking for. It's actually probably not as much as I was expecting. Two pretty well-paid footballers to be paying for their dinner. But Tiffany Steakhouse in the West End, why not drop in there at some stage? You may even meet a Celtic player. Juranovic is fit for tomorrow, by the way, says Ange, although Tom Rogic is not. Ange says he will be missing for between 2 and 3 weeks. That will take him out until the international break. Hopefully he'll be back for the St Johnstone game, which is in just over 3 weeks. It'd be great to have him back for that one. Rogic has been brilliant for us in recent weeks, so we're going to miss him for tomorrow. This is a team that I'm going for in his absence. Joe Hart in goals, a back four of Anthony Ralston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Karel Starfelt and Josip Juranovic. Going for Nir Bitton in holding midfield with Callum McGregor and David Turnbull ahead of him. McGregor obviously playing a bit more advanced than usual. Kyogo on the right, Jota on the left, and I think GG will be up top. Now, I saw some people suggesting that perhaps Jota or Mikey Johnson could play behind the striker in Rogic's usual role. I don't really see that happening personally, but who knows what Ange is thinking. Well, actually, I know what Ange is thinking. Livy are 9th going into tomorrow's game, but don't let that deceive you. They're actually on a pretty good run at the moment in the league. They've taken 7 points from their last possible 9, with those 2 wins they got, both coming on the road. They've still only beaten one team at home this season, and no prizes for guessing who that is. Let's just hope that revenge is a dish that's best served cold tomorrow at Celtic Park. We'll have the reaction after the game. I don't know quite yet what form that's going to take, whether it's going to be live, whether it's going to be recorded, but I will promise you right now that it will not be as late as it was last Saturday. That was absolutely a one-off. But just to be sure, just so I know to get the video out really quickly, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We crossed over the 21,000 barrier a couple of days ago. It'd be amazing to get to 22,000 really quickly. The big target is 25,000 by the end of the year. If we make that, I may just give away a few more mugs.